An NBA athlete brings his balls out of the closet. The rewards of being gay. A groom to a groom, a bride to a bride. Dearly beloved, I'm Alvin King, and this is We Speak. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the premiere edition of We Speak, a brand new talk show where we don't necessarily chat about current events, but about the issues that are forever current in our hearts. Joining me today, our bright-eyed producer has enlisted a stellar cast of intelligent, informative, quick-witted, honest, amusing, broad-minded, charming, considerate, creative, and of course, attractive individuals. They are here to share their opinions and their thoughts on a myriad of subjects and concerns that move our hearts every day, and we hope by creating this dialogue will move yours as well. Again, my name is Alvin King, so allow me to introduce our guests. At the end of the table, we have a Virginia native, former certified public accountant, and truly legendary drag performer known to millions as the fabulous Miss Christina Kelly. The delightfully charming Mr. Christopher Smith. How are you, Chris?
Thank you for having me, Al.
A California transplant, interior designer, and former makeup artist and entertainer. Well known in the circles of female impersonation as DC's own Beyonce. The delightfully charming Miss Riley Knoxx.
Hey,
welcome,
what's up?
Riley. Thank you.
How are you?
Also joining us today is author and celebrity photographer, and over 25 years, the delightfully charming Mr. James L. Hicks.
Hey, Alvin.
Nice to meet you, James. And last but not least is Los Angeles native and educator and former radio executive and spokesmodel, the delightfully charming Miss Shaina Edney. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, Shaina. Earlier this year, the NBA star Jason Collins came out of the closet announcing that he was in fact gay. It made the national magazines and newspapers, and he even sat down with an interview with Miss Oprah Winfrey. So the question is, was the coverage of his coming out overblown, or was it just a natural celebration of the history-making event?
Well, I think that anyone coming out of the closet is not a big deal anymore. Like, it's not a big news. But I think it's the fact that he was in the NBA, that he's in the NBA, and sports can be so homophobic, or, you know, they're in locker rooms with other guys, and he's the first of his kind to do it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that was what made it so big, you know, such a big deal, because no one has done that while they're playing in the NBA. It's always been after they're, you know, the NBA or NFL, after they've already played, so okay. I think that's what big deal.
I mean, I think it was certainly just overblown. It was sensationalized. While we can say that it was the first time that it happened with a player who was playing, this dude was done. His career was pretty much over. I wouldn't call him washed up, but he was on a bench for a team. It wasn't like he was that superstar, Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, playing right now, and then comes out and says, I'm gay.
Yeah, that would have been bigger.
And I think, I also think for the players that are, you know, current right now, a lot of them don't want to come out of the closet because they're afraid of the media backlash, and they're afraid of what people will dip into their personal lives, and they're afraid of the repercussions. Even though we've come very far in this world, we still have a long way to go, and they're afraid of what might happen to their careers, because at the end of the day, they have to realize they have a family, you know, if they have family, if they have a significant other, and they have to take care of themselves.
Yeah. Okay, so if I piggyback off of what Shaina has just said about his career, do you feel that Jason's move was truly brave?
I feel that it was brave. I think anybody that wants to come out of the closet in a public setting like that, that is brave. However, again, he was not really playing. He wasn't really active on the team. So the sad part is I don't think his career would take as much of a hit as it would take if someone else that was current and able to play every day.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think it was overblown at all. I thought it was a great celebration, you know, because it was a first, you know, and even though his career may be at the end, I did think it was a great example, you know, to show other professional, you know, athletes that it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So you think that Jason's declaration will lead to other professional athletes coming out of the
I
closet?
hope so, because there's a lot more.
I know this is sad. I know this is sad, but I really don't think so. I don't think so because I don't think this world is ready and prepared for that just yet. Even though like I said again, we've come leaps and bounds, I just don't think the world is prepared for that just yet.
I agree with you, Chris. I mean, especially when we're looking at sponsors and endorsements. I don't think any player that actually has like a Nike behind them or a Gatorade would actually ever come out of the closet.
See, I think we're getting there, though. I mean, even when you look at commercials and they show, you know, interracial families, they're showing gay families, you know. I really do think that it will allow for others to feel comfortable coming out. I thought that was a great example, you know, that he set to let everyone know that it's okay, you know, to be who you are, regardless of what your profession is. And certainly as a professional athlete, you know, it might not happen today or tomorrow, this year or next year, but I definitely could see within the near future that more players will come out, and even active players.
And maybe not so much for people that are already playing, but it also gives kids who are gay and that are growing up and want to play basketball, you know, there's someone that has done it, you know, in the future, and they may be young now, but because they had that as an example, they had someone to, you know, look up to and makes them want to play and say it's okay to be gay and still want to play a sport, you know.
Okay, so tell me, do closeted athletes and celebrities owe the truth of their sexuality to the general public?
I don't think that anyone owes anything to anyone. I think that you should never ever be pressured to come out of the closet because it's emotionally telling on some people. Some people can't handle it. I think that you should do it all in your own good time, and I don't think that your sexual preference has anything to do with your acting ability or your ability to play basketball or your ability to do anything in this world. I think you should be judged on your abilities just to make people happy and the love in your heart. It doesn't matter what you do in your bedroom.
And I feel the same way as you, but I think we live in a world where celebrities, even though we should be focused on their work and they're there for the work, we're so obsessed with what they're doing, what they're wearing, what their personal lives are like, and it's like, it's not just about the art anymore.
And it's really their business.
It is.
It's their business. I don't think they owe a responsibility to let us know. You know, even though they put themselves out there, I still think that they deserve their privacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, if they're trying to come off a certain way and, you know, and kind of lying about it, that might be, you know, a little different. But I do believe they can be who they want to be, you know, and come out if they want and not. You know,
without sharing it. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court declared the Defense of Marriage Act to be unconstitutional. Given the strides that such have made, athletes coming out of the closet and gays on television in the mainstream media, as well as other milestones in the gay lifestyle, has made in the past few years. Do you ever wish that you'd been born later so that you could reap the rewards that are coming in the future?
No, I don't. I'm glad. I have no regrets of where I am. I don't believe in having regrets. It's like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I think it's a beautiful thing happening now, and I think it's beautiful, you know, what's going to happen for those that come behind us, you know.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like I'm fortunate to be in it right now, to be seeing the change right now, as opposed to living at a time where it wasn't, you know, where it was taboo, or at a time where it was, like, I'm lucky that I got to see the change, so I can say to my kids or grandkids or whatever, you know.
And we get to be a part of that
Yeah.
change. We get to vote.
Yeah.
We get to have our voices heard. So for me, it's really good to be a part of it today. And then we can look back and tell the stories to our kids and say, I was a part of it. I made history.
It's the same thing with the civil
Right,
rights.
exactly.
Everybody who marched is able to say, you know, I was part of that. You know, you can do this because, you know, we did this.
So why do you think some homosexuals seem to be removed from the issue of gay marriage?
I think marriage is an institution that a lot of homosexuals don't realize what they're getting into until they get into it, because it's something, and I think it's very,
Straights too.
Yeah, of course, right? But I think that gay men are excited about the idea that they now have the option to get married, but they don't realize what comes along with being married. They don't realize that, eventually if you guys don't work out, there is divorce. There's a lot of factors that I think that a lot of gay men don't think out before they say I do, or before they say I want to get married. I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of homosexuals are kind of lacked about the subject topic, because they're afraid of the unknown, and they're also afraid of what's going to happen if it goes sour.
Okay. I agree with Chris. I think a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon because we can, without really thinking of, well, what if this does not work? I come from a family of divorce, and it's like, from what I've seen, I know that you just don't jump into it. It's like it has to be the right timing, with the right person, and all of those factors you have to be in a place where I'm ready to settle down. I can do this, financially and in all ways.
And I think it also has to do with gay men get love and lust confused sometimes, and I think that they forget that, sometimes you can be in lust with somebody but not necessarily be in love, and before you think about it, you got married, and when that lust period is over, there's nothing left.
Yeah, they call that U-hauling.
Because you have to have you have to have love in a relationship, and you have to understand the differences of what love really means. I feel that's how I feel.
Okay. Switching the gears again for the moment, do you ever support gay causes just because you think you should?
I think being a homosexual, I think you should support gay causes, because this world is so diverse, and a lot of people are still very prejudiced against us, and I feel that if your fellow man is out there doing something, whatever it might be, if it could be an AIDS rally or anything, I feel that you should at least offer your services just to show that you care about your community, because I think a lot of people forget about the community and the people that helped us get to where we are right now.
Oh, I think it would depend on the cause.
Yeah.
It's, like anything else, it's like, just because it's black and I'm black, I define myself as more than gay. Okay. So, and I do a lot of different things, but just because,
right, I totally
it might
agree.
be, one agenda, that doesn't necessarily make it mine. So I don't feel necessarily that I would have to be involved in it.
This next question is a trick question, if you will. Is it the responsibility of homosexuals to educate straight people on how their lifestyles isn't necessarily what the stereotypes or myths say that it should be?
I don't think it's our duty, but I do think if someone is in front of us and they have that misconception of what the gay lifestyle is, I do think it's our right to tell them exactly how the gay lifestyle is, because I think that we're stereotyped a lot. And I think that a lot of us don't fit that mold. I personally am someone who wants to have, a husband, a house, a picket fence, a dog. I want the American dream, but I want it in my version. You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of people think that when you're gay that you're very promiscuous and everything like that. And those aren't the cases.
And as a heterosexual woman, I do feel that it's a responsibility. I think almost as I feel as being a black woman, if I'm around a group of people who aren't black, I kind of take the responsibility that if they have misconceptions about who black people are, I kind of make myself the master to teach them, to want to show them, especially if it's negative things that they're constantly thinking. I want to be that mode for them to kind of show them that all black people aren't this way. And the fact that I have a lot of homosexual friends and I spend a lot of time in the community, I know the differences, but I do listen to my friends and people who don't get to spend that time, and they are completely clueless. So it would be great to have more homosexuals and people from that community that are willing to just be the voice or be the mold in whatever way they choose, but to stop the ignorance.
And I definitely feel the same as you. As a transsexual woman, a transgender woman, I feel a responsibility to let people know that I'm not just what you see on Maury Povich or Jerry Springer, and I've had so many people say that I've changed the face of what they thought that someone who was transgender was like, So I definitely feel a responsibility not only to heterosexual people, but also to other up-and-coming transgender youth, that you don't just have to be what, you've seen the negative stereotypes, that there are positive, role models in the transgender community. So I definitely feel a responsibility every day, like whether I'm on stage or whether I'm walking out of my house, I feel a responsibility to that. Absolutely.
All right, and it takes only 5 minutes to educate somebody. Because I think our silence promotes ignorance, and I think that it takes 5 minutes to educate somebody about how life really is.
But I think that with just being an example of being who we are, I don't really feel a responsibility to go, well, this is how gay people, this is how I am. you
Right.
know.
Right.
And I certainly don't represent the whole community, but I represent, a lot of us.
Right.
And, I used to carry around a soapbox, for different things. I don't do that anymore. It's like I really have to set an example of this is who I am, and you can take it or leave it.
And I think people forget also that being gay is not our entire life. I mean, being gay is a part of our life, but it's not our entire life. We're very normal, just like everyone else, and being gay is just a part of our life. It's not.
Do any of you, or are you fearful of the youth in a homosexual lifestyle?
I think so, because I think that today's youth thinks that they're invincible. I think that they don't realize what is out there and how it can affect their everyday life. I don't think that they use the common sense to use protection. I think they're very promiscuous, and I think they don't listen. And it's sad because when I was a younger kid, my mom used to make me listen. My parents used to, when I saw the street light coming on, I knew it was time to come home.
Right.
And if I didn't come home, I knew what was happening.
Right.
I learned how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and treat people with respect. And I think today's family and today's parents don't educate their children or discipline their children like they should. And that's why our youth is the way it is.
In about 6 seconds, I'm going to ask everyone to answer this question if you can. What is the one lesson that you would like to teach the gay youth of today? Shaina?
I'll go last.
You go
because
last?
I don't know what to tell them.
Okay, I'm going to start with Chris. You go right ahead, Chris.
I would tell them that they're not invincible and they need to keep their mouths shut and their ears open, and they need to learn about what this lifestyle entails and how to live a productive lifestyle being homosexual. And remember that it's just a part of your life. It's not your whole life.
Riley?
Just be an observer and just live, and take in as much as you can from people that came before you, and not be hard-headed and listen and learn from other people's examples. I think that's a very important thing, whether you're homosexual, heterosexual, whatever, but especially in the homosexual community.
James?
I would say be who you are, live your truth. Express yourself the way you feel comfortable expressing yourself.
What I would tell homosexual youth was probably the same thing that I would tell all youths of today, which is just be yourself, live, dream, grow, learn, and nothing bad could ever come out of that.
For those of you who are just tuning in, to my far right we have Chris, we have Riley, we have James, and we have Shaina. Shaina, during the commercial break, decided that she wanted to share something with us, so I'm going to let Shaina open the show for us right now. Shaina?
Yeah, my question was pretty much for you, Alvin, and the rest of the panel. I'm trying to figure out, as a heterosexual woman, how do I, or maybe it should be you guys, how do we start the conversation between heterosexuals and homosexuals so that we can work on trying to bridge that gap?
Well, I'm going to say this because this recently happened to me. 4th of July weekend, spent time with my nieces and nephews, and my 10-year-old niece asked, could she talk to me? And I'm just walking around the house, and what she wanted to talk to me about was a comment that I made to my family saying that my partner was coming over. And she pulled me to the side and she said, Uncle, you used the word partner. Are you gay? And I looked at her and I thought, wow, this girl is ready to, to talk about something that I thought should come from her mom or her dad. And I took a moment to sit her down to ask her questions about why did she ask me that, where did it come from? And through that conversation, she said to me that she heard the word partner, and she associated that with domestic partnership. Mm-hmm. So that told me there that I think we're living in a world. She's 10. Yeah. We're living in a world where it's time to open up communications with the youth, because they're seeing and hearing things that we have no idea of. So we can't just sit back and say they're not hearing that. Yeah. They are hearing a lot of things that we need to talk to them about openly and publicly.
And I think you did it the right way, because I think that they should be able to come to us and ask us every question that they've ever wanted to know.
Exactly.
I'd rather you
Because-
ask than assume.
Yeah, I'd rather you ask than just think that you know the answer, because when you ask us, we're able to sit down and tell you what life is really about and what our lifestyle is really about. So I think, you know, you did it the right way by just letting her ask you questions, and then she was able to learn that way.
But it feels like it starts with us as heterosexuals having to ask a question. But we're
Yeah.
we're afraid. We're afraid.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
know what?
we're afraid to ask
I
questions.
have so many straight male friends that have never been around anyone gay, and it's not so much that they don't like, or that they're homophobic or don't like gay people. They just don't know any. They don't know any. They haven't been around, so they're like, well, I don't know what it's like, or I have nothing against gay people, but like they're a little afraid because they don't know. We fear what we don't know.
They're
so.
afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think because of the world that we live in, and people use slang and other methods of communication to
Right.
describe
Right.
something or to say something. I think it's our opportunity to sit down and tell it like it is,
Yeah.
if you will. You know, if there's a slang out there, like again, my niece, she's heard the word partner, and believe me, it blew my mind when she took it to a place where, our partner could have been anything,
Right,
but
right.
she took it to a place where I thought it should be if you're going to ask that question. So
Right.
I think it's an opportunity for us to educate
Yeah.
in that way and,
Exactly.
and break down some barriers.
Yeah. So many times with me, like people don't know what's PC or what they can say or what they can't say, and so they kind of on pins and they're like,
Stare.
yeah.
They just
They're like,
stare.
well, I don't know. Like, I hope I'm not offending you, but I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, I have several straight friends, and it's really never been an issue, at least not for me. And I would freely mention my partner, and it's like, I'm moving down south, and it's just everybody's so open to it, and
Yeah.
they ask about my partner and how he is, and I've taken him with me to different situations that I'm in, and everybody's been so warm and receptive.
I think that's
And,
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really been incredible.
Because you're their friend you're their friend, but you just happen to be gay.
Right,
it's not
just
like you're
happen
my
to be gay.
Yeah.
This is my gay
Right.
friend.
You're not their
Right.
right.
This is my
You're not
gay
their
friend.
mascot. The mascot
Right.
for the gay people.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's like I'm not the I forgot the word.
Well, Jane, first of all, we're going to miss you, but that would be another talk show. We're going to miss you when you move to Atlanta.
Thank you.
And while we're talking about the kids, and we mentioned earlier that the question was, should are we fearful of the young homosexuals of today? One of the things that I didn't comment on is how do we react when we see a gesture by young homosexuals in public? For example, I saw two young ladies, two young girls, beautiful young girls, the other day on the subway. And I'm on the train riding home, and I look out the window, and they're embracing each other, kissing, while just saying goodbye. And what took me by surprise was a feeling came up for me, because they were gorgeous. I mean, they looked like Shaina and Riley, and I thought, and I thought, and I was surprised that feeling came up for me. So my question is to you, how do you react when you see that public display of affection?
I love it.
You like it?
I love it. I love it. I love when I see guys holding hands in neighborhoods that I never thought that they were like. They're bold enough to do that, and no one is looking at. Like, I've seen that happen, and there's no one looking at them like, what are they doing? Like, why are they holding hands? They're just holding hands, oblivious to what the world may be thinking. And I love looking at other people not be fazed by it.
I have a very different opinion of that. I'm homosexual, but I feel that public displays of affection should be at home. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel, because I feel that this world is still very narrow-minded, and I think that people seeing us as homosexuals giving displays of affection just prompts someone to say something and cause a problem. And I guess that's just how I feel about it. I think it's great to go and hold the hand with your lover, but I think that this world is still not ready for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we would have to wrap things up here. I'd like to thank our panelists for taking time to join us today, and to find out more about the show and each of them individually, check out our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/WeSpeak. I'd also like to thank our fabulous studio audience for being here and you at home for watching. And I ask that you join us again the next time when we present our show, We Speak. Bye for now.